Okay, cool. So I want to show you something very quickly in Maya, and I think this would save you all a huge amount of time. Okay, so let's close this. So we have gone through wireframe rendering, and we've gone through ambient occlusion rendering. There's something else that's very useful, and that's wireframe exporting, as in exporting line work from Maya. I know. It's super cool.
Can you change lines?
Sorry?
Can you change lines like right or no?
Can you what?
Change like line weights.
Yeah,
Oh,
when you
yeah.
export it, yeah. Okay, so first of all, let me delete that. So I'm just gonna quickly, so before you guys do this, you might wanna set up a camera view. And I'll tell you why later on, but just to set up a camera view and then do the rendering. So let's duplicate this. So right now this is on my smooth preview display. So if I press 1, it's rough, and if I press 3, it's smooth. The problem with this is if you render this like the way it is, this is the wireframe result you're gonna get. Like this is the line work result you're gonna get. So the first thing you want to do is go to modify, go to convert, and go to smooth mesh preview to polygons. So what that would do is take the look of the smooth mesh view and just convert that to the actual object. So if you did that, so you see that, it just subdivides it. And now if I press 1, it's the same thing. If I press 3, it's the same thing.
See how it like added more divisions?
Oh, come on.
Is there a way to reduce it?
Is there a way to what?
See, because when you had it before, there's probably like, let's say like 6 divisions.
Yeah,
But now when you converted it, now there's like 1,000.
yeah.
Is there a way to like reduce that?
Reduce mesh.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good. This works. So that's the first thing you want to do. And then the next thing you want to do is go to your camera view. And I'm just going to go here because I set this up already. So that's my camera view, and this is converted to an actual object. And then I'm going to go to my render settings. And under the render settings, I want to choose Maya vector. So when you choose that, it gives you a different set of options. So let's start with the file output. You can type a file name here, and notice that the path of the file is here, so that's where it's automatically going to save that file to. So you're going to have to browse to that location to find the file when you render it. Image format, I'm going to go, you can choose Adobe Illustrator. I tried it and it worked, but if you try it and it doesn't work, for some reason it may not work, especially if you're using a student version. I'm using a student version, but it worked. Anyways, if you try it and it doesn't work, you can go with an SVG. You can import that into Illustrator too. So yeah, Adobe Illustrator. Then you want to come to frame/animation extension and make sure that's name.extension single frame in a bracket. Renderable camera. In my perspective view, and I want to render my perspective view, so I'm going to leave it at that. You can change the size of it. Like this doesn't really matter for the vector render. It would matter for the image overlay that you're going to render. So what I'm going to do is render out a line work and then render an ambient occlusion image that I'm going to overlay on my line work. So this would affect the resolution of that image. Okay, then go to Maya vector. And here you can put in settings for how the render comes out. So I'm gonna turn that off, and I don't really have time to like go through all of these. But what this does is if you turn that on, it's gonna add a color to your render. So it's gonna fill the line work with a color. If you turn that off, it's just gonna give you the wireframe. It's almost like a Make 2D. It is a Make 2D basically. A Make 2D of a view. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to use a medium detail level. I would advise you start with a low and see how long that takes before going to a medium. And then So here in the edge options, this is basically the appearance of the lines. So you can choose the line weight here. You can choose a hairline. Hairline is 0.00, so maybe just put something like 0.05 is what I used. Edge style, you can render out the outline alone or the entire mesh. I chose to render the entire mesh. And the edge color, black. And yeah, just go ahead and render that. So let's open that and let's render. Okay, I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna skip this. I'll just show you the final thing. So again, remember how I said that you have to browse to the location of that file? The location is usually in your documents. You go to documents, you go to Maya, you go to projects, you go to default, you go to images, and that's where you'd find it. But then again, you'd see that path in your render, so just take note of that. And that is my AI wireframe. Okay.
So it just exports an AI file.
Exports an AI file basically. Excuse me. Okay. So exports an AI file, and then I did an additional clear ambient occlusion render. So those are the two things you need: ambient occlusion render and your Illustrator file. I don't think we need to go over the ambient occlusion render. If we do, there are tutorial videos online that we've posted. You guys can watch those. Okay, so Illustrator. This was a simple something diagram that I made. And basically, all I did was take my SVG file and just open that in Illustrator. Okay, so this is what the file looks like. So you see that that's actual line work. Yeah, I know. Actual line work. So back here, so this is a composite of the line work, the image, ambient occlusion image, but then I did some image tracing on that to get that pastel effect, and then did some additional line work to, like, you know, whatever, make it look good. Okay, let's just go over this very quickly. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is import that, and then I also want to bring in my image on a second layer. So, and remember where we set the size of the image. If you keep that at the same, you render the line work and the image at the same size. Then when you drag and drop your image, it should just fit in right on top of your line work. Let's lock that line work. Right, so it should fit perfectly that way. So I'm gonna take the image and I'm gonna do a shades of gray image trace. We've gone over image trace in this class, right? Okay, cool. Just checking. Gotta be sure. So I have the image trace. Actually, let's first of all expand that so that it doesn't start dragging. Okay, so got the image trace. I'm gonna go to my blend mode and I'm gonna make that a multiply so that I can see my line work behind it or in front of it. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lock the both of those layers and make a new layer. I'm gonna take my line work and copy that, Control C, and let's make sure that paste members layer is turned off, and then paste that on the new layer. Okay, and let's just hide the two of them, the ones below. Okay, so what I'm going to do very quickly is draw a rectangle around this. And I want to delete this base, like the line work on the base, because I don't really need that. So let's right click and ungroup this. Okay, so now I can select those lines and delete them. So I want this object alone, and I want to create an outline around this object. And I'm just going to use K, which is a shortcut for a smart fill, and I'm going to drop that in. So the first thing it does is it makes a compound shape. So now you can see a sort of outline around, like this is an object and that's a space outside of that, and you can fill the outside or the inside with color. So I'm just going to drop color on the outside. And I'm going to select this, expand it. Now what I want to do is get the shape, the outline shape of that render. So I'm going to ungroup that, ungroup again, and then release compound path. So keep ungrouping until you see the release compound path option. And now I have two shapes. I have the black fill, and I have my outline. And I'm just going to flip that around, and that becomes a single line around. Let's turn this other two on. Right. Okay, so now we got that. I'm going to make that 2, and then I'm going to make the edges rounded so that it just looks a little cleaner on the outside. Actually, 2 is too much. Just make it 1.
Just out of curiosity, like the line density that you've chosen, like in terms of the contours and stuff, like couldn't you reduce your line work a lot more so that you actually see it? Because right now it just kind of looks like a dark paper, right?
Are you talking about the mesh?
Production? Yeah.
This, sorry, hold on. This line work. Are you talking about this line work?
Yeah, like wouldn't we want to have less lines?
Yeah, that's up to you. Like, do whatever you want. You can get a line work out of it, so you can basically make that out of it. Yep.
When you image trace, what was the option?
Gray.
Gray.
And you don't need to image trace. The reason why I like image tracing is because then I don't have to bother about resolution of my pictures, like when I put them on the board. So I can resize them however I want to resize it, right? Because they're vector, right? Yeah.
Is that effective? Sorry, is that effective?
For me, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
all of this is very subjective. Like, all of you would have your different styles that you'd want to, like, curate. So, okay. So, this would be like your orthographic, yeah. Although for the purpose of this render, I also took this and used it in the rendering. So, like, again, up to you. Yeah. Anyways, so let's just create a new layer, put that below, fill that with a black color. Draw a rectangle around there. Okay. And now you can select the wireframe and choose a different color for it. Maybe make it white. And our outline, we can make that white too. Anyways, you can mess around with this, make it what you want it to be. But I wanted to show you something. So yeah, so I did that and put some annotations around it. If you want to put annotations around it, you can do that in a very clean way. For your matrix, you can also make different versions of this. Like, I was really bored and I just did this. But anyways, actually, so one thing to note here is you always want to keep in mind the legibility of this. So when I zoom out, it looks cool, but it doesn't look legible. So, don't do that. Like, make it more legible.
You don't need to have outlines for those matrices.
You don't need to. This is my graphic style. I like to make things look that way because it pops and it draws your eye to it, right? But yeah, find something that works for yourself and works for everybody else, like to read it. So let's move over to Photoshop. Okay. Sorry, is there any question so far? Sorry, say that again. How do you section it? You can use the slice tool and like delete the other part. Or, yeah, that would be the easiest way, I guess. Slice it and delete the part you don't need. Yeah. Okay, I have some really creepy renders, but again, I was really bored. So I think I can get a pass on this. This is even creepier. And yo, like, I didn't realize that these things look like eyes until I put them in this render. It's really creepy, eh? Okay. Whatever. P.S. This is not an example of the context of your render. This is just a tutorial on tips and tricks, what to do in your renders. Oh, actually, so the tutorial that we did last year, that had 4 on it, and then this time I was like, I'm gonna put a twist on it, just make it like hairy, not furry, you know, like. Anyways, it's what you do when you're preparing for graphics class, okay? You do this all the time, and you don't want to do the same thing every year, so just change it. Okay, so back to business. Excuse me. Okay, but on a real note though, you guys want to like kind of pick a background or a picture that you think would put some affect into your render, you know, like let it move something in someone when they look at it, you know, let them feel something for your render. Like, I really love this. I don't know why, but anyways, one of my professors in my comprehensive studio would say, make your render seductive. I know, right? But anyways. Okay. So what I normally like to do is go back. So I have a bunch of like random photographs that like I can pick. That's what I use, that I can pick from. This was the object that we did last year. Boring. Like stuff like this, where like the image itself is really moody, usually works nicely, because like you can then like put your object in it and create an atmosphere and like make it all cinematic and stuff like that, right? Trust me, this render, this money shot is what's spending some 30 minutes to 1 hour on it. So, or that. Anyways, this was the 4 we used last year. But basically these are wallpapers. So, and I prefer to use wallpapers because they come in high res and they're usually pretty cool. So whatever works for you, by all means. How many of you are, no, is there anyone who is not really comfortable with Photoshop? Yeah, any other person? Just like, I'm asking because I want to know how to spend the rest of the 20 minutes that we have, if I should skip over stuff or what do you guys want? Because really, like this isn't like, this is stuff that you. Sorry?
What are we doing? We're just setting up.
Yeah, just I'm basically showing you what the same things that we've shown you for like so many times now, like Photoshop tricks and tips. Come in. Photoshop tips and tricks, and anything I've done here is basically what you guys already know how to do. So if there's anyone who's not comfortable, both of you, right? I'll just like take it step by step for your sake. Yeah.
Masking.
What?
Masking.
Masking. Okay, cool. We'll do that. Any other thing? All right. Okay, so do you guys want me to walk through these through this one? This one? Yeah? This? Okay, cool. That's easier actually. So okay, so let's just bring in that image. I think it's this one, yeah. A creepy scene. And I'm gonna go back to my images and where did I put this? Oh, actually, so so what you can do, because I've done this a little different, what you can do is you can take your ambient occlusion shot and like take that into Photoshop and trim it, whatever. What I did was I just copied the AI file. So, because remember I said I took my AI and brought that into Photoshop. Okay, so that's what the AI file looks like.
But it lags also, right?
Yeah, it does. And you guys should take that in consideration. Like the density of your line weights would most likely make your stuff lag in AI. Okay, so I'm gonna make 3 to 4 copies of this. So just Control J, Control J, Control J, and let's turn everything off. I'm gonna take the very first one, like the one beneath all of them. And actually, before we do that, let's do some masking. So you would notice this edge around the image. I'm gonna use a masking frame. So just click that. See that? Yeah, that's it. Click on that little icon, and then it puts this mask beside your image. And with the mask, all you need to do is just take your paintbrush. Black is for transparent, and white is for opaque. So if you're painting black in the mask frame, then you're saying you want that whatever you're painting to be transparent. So for instance, I have a black here, and if I went with my brush and I just increase that, let's use a soft brush. Okay, so see that? That's a black and it makes it transparent. And if I swap that to a white, I can just make that opaque again. So this is good for like what you call a non-destructive editing. So it means you're not deleting anything, you're just masking things so that you always have the original copy of whatever image you're working with. Okay, so I'm gonna swap that back to black and mask the edge, 100% opacity. Uh-oh. Okay, and now I'm gonna duplicate. And let's turn that off. So I want this stuff to be way at the back, like very far away. So I'm gonna reduce that. Okay. And let's say this is sitting somewhere, like I want it to be really far away. So when you pick an image like this, the first thing you want to look out for is the line of sight. If you look at this image, the camera looks like it's very close to the road, right? Like you're definitely not standing and taking this. You're almost lying on the road and taking the shot, right? So which means that if you were to stand up and actually look at this, your line of sight would be somewhere around here. It wouldn't be here, like on the horizon, which is where it should normally be if you were standing and taking the photograph. Does that make sense? Okay, it would be above the horizon. So basically around there. Let's just say somewhere around there. Yeah, that looks about right. So that line of horizon, when you're putting people in your render, their heads always meets that line. It never goes above the line. So for instance, if I had a person okay, had this set of people, I'm gonna want to do that. And now that it doesn't really look realistic. I'm winging this. I'd spend a few minutes on this if I were to get it right. But if I took this cutout and I wanted to put this same picture of these people down somewhere here, well, in this case, I think it would go down. It would go down because you're not on your high sight is not on the horizon. It's below it. So it would keep dropping. Yep. But anyways, if you were standing and taking the photograph, it would always maintain that line. Something to note. Let's turn these guys off. And let's put them below. Okay, so I have this image right down there. And I want it to sink in that grass. So I'm going to copy it and just put it somewhere around there. And let's mask this a little. So let's take that and let's use a 100%. I think is okay. I'm just going to reduce that brush size. And I'm just going to do that and paint over it. Because the idea would be that this thing is sitting in the grass, right? And the grass is like quite tall. So if I did that, then from afar it looks like it's actually embedded in the grass. But also, like, there is a lot of fog, like, far back. So you have two options. You can either reduce the opacity, or you can add a layer of like white. But the trick is that if you're not working with an image that you created, you're working with an image like this that you have no control over that fog effect, then it might be difficult to match the fog effect. But you can try. Like, if I were to try and do that, I would create a new layer and take my brush and pick that color and just go very, very white and soft brush, and I'll go like 15% or 20%, and I'll make that layer a soft light, and I'll just like try and paint over it.
No, I mean literally bring in like fog PNG from like Google and then just drop it in.
You can do that too. You can do that, and you can paint over it, right? Like there isn't one way to do it.
When you screen it, it removes the black background. Leaves the fog.
Sorry, say that again.
When you screen the black background PNG with fog, it removes the black background. Just leaves the fog.
Right. Okay, so let's just turn on the other copies. Take that, resize it, drop it behind or in front of that. So this would potentially be a little closer than the other one. So it would be bigger, obviously. You can drop that in. You can rotate it, just for fun. So like it's not the exact same duplicate, right? It's the same object, but it's like, Stonehenge kind of placing. Anyways, basically do the same thing. Again, masking. Go in there, reduce the brush size. I'm gonna make that 100. And then it just looks like it's embedded in the grass. Again, you can take that brush and paint over this. So here's the problem. Like, I'm painting over that and it's like brighter. I'm gonna have to try and match that color again. You can either do that or just reduce the opacity. Okay, let's just do one more. So if I take this one and just put it right here, and I rotate this that way, and let's say I make it bigger. Okay, now I can put it here. So what I can do with this one is, because this is up close, ideally if I wanted to like depict the grass effect, I could just take my paintbrush and use a grass brush. And let's make that a little bigger. And I'm gonna rotate the grass a little, make it black, of course. And then I'm just gonna do that. And so that way, it actually looks like a grass. And then let's put our people. Where's that little, okay. So what I did here was just, obviously it's a black and white image, and you don't want your person to be the popping image. So let's go adjustment, black and white. Just make that black and white. And again, they're like really far away, so you can make them start to fade a little. Yeah. And there you go. Oh, actually, this is blocking off that little guy there. Anyways, whatever. Just move that guy here. Okay. Yeah, but so the important thing is the object that you're putting in the render is coming with some attribute that like adds to the mood of the render. It's not contrasting the mood of the render. Like the image on its own feels like something mysterious, right? Like, and then you put these eyes on the road, like just. So, but it kind of like continues in the line of that story, whether it's making it deeper or like less, you know.
Should we be having wireframe renders?
No, you don't have to. No,
So-
I just thought that looked cool, so I did that. Yeah.
So if you're that up close, applying a material to that, or we can let it down?
Yeah, let's walk through that quickly, because I think that's. So I'm gonna apply this material. Okay, so here's a trick. You can either go ahead and do this. So let's select that object. You guys know how to do that. You have an object like that. Control and click there. You can select it. Okay, good. So let's drag this image in here. Now I can say multiply as a quick and dirty way to do it, and then make a clipping mask, and then just invert that, Control I. Okay. I can have it that way, but obviously that's really flat. If that's what you like, that's fine. Alternatively, let's delete this. Alternatively, I can try to match, because this object has like a few edges, so I can try to match those edges with my texture mapping. Texture mapping, so you just map the texture around the edges. So let's reduce it a little. Okay. And I'm just going to rotate this slightly. And notice what I'm trying to do is match this image with the edge of the object. So let's distort that, and let's pull this in a little that way. Let's pull that out. Can actually just take that up. Okay. And what I usually like to do is just go here and try a bunch of blend modes to see what looks nice. Just scroll through it. Lighten. Screen, color dodge, linear dodge. Let's see, what did I use here? Multiply. Okay, I'm just going to stick with multiply. Multiply. Okay, and now I'm going to take this and put a layer mask on it, and then start to brush off with a soft brush. Start to like clean off any, let's make that 50%, actually 33%. So this is just, I don't know if it's a fact or not, but it's just general knowledge that 33% of opacity is good for blending images. 33. It's actually 33.5, whatever. 33. So I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to take another one. I'm going to bring it again. The same image again. Let's just reduce that. And then I'm going to rotate this and do the same thing. So And then I'm going to multiply that. Add a layer mask and paint over it. I'm going to go 100. Okay, just wipe that off. Let's make this about 50% and just wipe this off a little. Just make that a little bigger and like just make the edge soft there. So yeah, you can continue to like composite this, like just add more layers of that four into it. If I did this and rotated that this way, added a layer mask and multiply that, then I can start to erase my hard edges. Oh, it's not black. Sorry. Okay. You know, and I just keep like layering and layering and doing the same thing. Layer, erase, layer, erase, layer, erase. Until you have like something that looks quite acceptable. Cool. Questions yet?
So for the sectional work around, how would you do that? Would you do that in Rhino?
You could do that in Rhino. What I would advise is you can just do it in Maya, really. Like if you use the split tool, the slice tool, and you slice your object and you trimmed off the part that you didn't need, and then you can make a camera, an orthogonal camera that like looks at that face, and maybe extrude it so you can give it some thickness, maybe not, and then you can render a line work from that, or yeah, or you can take it to Rhino and make 2D. You guys have a lot of tools at your disposal, so sort of like create a workflow, make stuff. All right. Have a good day. Hey.
Do you have a few minutes? I just I just took a picture. And all I can even get like the slices to work. It's
Okay.
like super flat and they're all like intersecting and then make
Okay.
perspective.
Yeah, sure. Bring it. Yeah. Hey.
Hi, I was like not here on Monday, so I'm like a little behind.
On Monday? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what you think I should do about my proposal. And I was hoping to do it in acrylic.
Can I see the other one? The folded one. Everyone's like
The
choosing the
folded one?
slices though.
Well, okay, sure, but like the folded one doesn't really look like personal.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I
I think I should do this one and throw over the slice. No,
I would
also
discourage you
guess
from
that.
just going with the slice. What I would say is like try and like think outside the box and see what looks cool. It doesn't have to look like the actual one. It doesn't sound cool. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like everyone's doing the contour and it's like it's really the easiest way out.
I mean, I think none of this is the easiest way out, but okay.
It is the easiest
I mean,
way out.
400 pieces.
The folding is easier. I don't even know. Like yeah.
Do you have a quick question?
You and
Maybe we'd like to
Yeah, we can
discuss.
yeah, okay.
I was just wondering if you had an example of you said do it with the brown paper, like this stuff in between. Sorry, guys. Oh no, it's okay.
Did you? Same. Did that time?
Man, the internet sucks this morning.
I was crappy yesterday.
I just want you to confirm that you are uploading, you're going to be uploading the tutorial.
That I'm gonna what?
Upload the tutorial.
Oh, I should stop that.